What's up guys, and welcome back. Today I'm hitting you with the first movie review of 2018, and that's going to be the latest entry in the MCU, and that's going to be Black Panther. So Black Panther was just released at the cinemas last week. It was directed by Ryan Coogler. It's hard to believe that this is the guy's third film. He's only made two films before this. One was Fruitvale Station, which I've not seen, and Creed, which I've also not seen for some reason. I still don't know why I've not seen either of those movies, but I'm going to. So we're first introduced to the character of the Black Panther, T'Challa, in Captain America Civil War, and I thought he was a really great addition to the story. He was basically on a revenge mission in that one after the death of his father, and his father was the king of a place called Wakanda, and this film primarily is about him taking up the throne. T'Challa becomes the king of Wakanda and has to deal with all the things that come with being the king. One thing I'm seeing with these new Marvel films is that the origin story seems to be really good. I've really enjoyed the last three. I enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming, Doctor Strange, and now Black Panther. I've really enjoyed all of them, so it seems like they are learning from some of their mistakes of the past, like Iron Man 2 and things like that, where they kind of just went for all action and following the story and jokes. These last three feel like they've actually been really good character driven stories, this one especially. Now if you're going to be making a film set in like a fictional place like Wakanda, you're going to hope that the visuals are good, and the visuals are really good in this film. Lots of different locations, like again mountains in Wakanda, and then Korea just looks amazing. We get to see all the neon street lights in a big chase scene. All this looks great. The only problem is a lot of the things in Wakanda are CGI, and they are quite noticeable, but there's only a few moments in the film where I thought they really took me out of it, especially one on the mountains where you could just tell the characters on a green screen. But that is just a minor flaw to this movie. It still looks great and the action looks great. One downside I will say about the action is because of the villain Killmonger and the Black Panther both wear dark suits, and some of the fights take place in dark locations. You can't actually tell what's going on a lot of the time unless you are really paying attention. I think the screen I watched on was a little dark too. I'm not sure that didn't help either, but other than that, really cool visually, especially the things in Wakanda like the flora and fauna. They have this special flower in the movie which gives the Black Panther's power, and it's really vibrant and glowing, and it reminds me of something you see in Avatar, and the dream sequences are visually stunning as well. I'd love to watch this movie in 3D just to check out those parts of it. Like I said, T'Challa's suit is mainly really dark black, but in this one we get a new version of the suit where he has, I think it's vibranium, which is the metal which is rare and only found in Wakanda, which is also what Captain America's shield is made from. He gets it implemented in his suit, which can be like a power absorption, so say if someone hits him, it charges up the energy, and the next time it's hit, it outbursts. So that looks really cool, and it's all purple, so it kind of goes with the colours of the posters and stuff. So that looks cool when it's in action, and that gets used a lot in the film. The score and the soundtrack, this is getting a lot of attention online. I think most of the soundtrack was done by Kendrick Lamar and some other rappers. I'm not huge on rap these days. I used to like it back in the day, but I'm not really a fan of the newer stuff. But I must say the way they mixed in the soundtrack and the score together in this film, it fit really well with the themes and the cultural like the African drums and stuff like that. It really worked very well, and some of the songs in this from the soundtrack really get pumped in the scenes. There's one scene in particular when they go into a club in Korea, and there's this song, I can't remember what it's called, maybe I think it might be Pray For Me, but the instrumental sounds really awesome. It reminded me of the scene from Luke Cage when Cottonmouth is just pumping these tunes, and it really gets you pumped up. I think the soundtrack and the score actually added a lot of weight to a lot of the scenes, obviously the end fights and stuff. Marvel are always really good with the score, and I thought in this one it was different from all the other ones just because of how urban it was, and like I said, with the African drums and chants and stuff. But yeah, I really loved the score and soundtrack, and it really got me excited to get to the final conclusion of this film. Now on to the plot of the film. Now I think this is the strongest point. I think this is one of the better written Marvel films we've had in quite a while. My favourite Marvel films are the more serious ones, which take on serious themes and tones, and probably echo some things that are actually happening in real life. I love Winter Soldier, and I like Civil War 2, and this one felt a lot more like this than it did to something like Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor Ragnarok, which were just all out sci-fi fantasy blockbusters. This one is a lot more character driven, and I actually loved that a lot. We got a lot of sense of the culture and the family aspects of things that happen in Wakanda, with how they work as a culture in this small part of the continent where no one knows about, and how things work so successfully because of the powers and the technology and stuff, and just the tribal things, how they have challenges. It seems very primitive, but at the same time it's very good for their like family bonding and stuff. And I really felt that through the characters between T'Challa and his sister and his love interest. Chadwick Boseman did a great job in this movie. I would say the first half of the movie, he is just playing the Black Panther who's trying to get to grips with things, but by the second half of the movie, when the plot really picks up, we get a lot of great scenes from him becoming like he delves into what it's like to be king, the problems with being king, trying to balance being a superhero, the king, and a normal person. And basically what it boils down to is the sins of their fathers, the things that happened before he was the king, and how he has to try and deal with them and make things better. Now this goes on to the villain of the film. Yes, we have Ulysses Claw. I think he was in Age of Ultron as well. He's played by Andy Serkis. He's the main villain for the first half of the movie, but he's really not that much of a villain. He's just the guy, he's just an ends to the means to get to the real villain, which is Eric Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan. I've always liked Michael B. Jordan as an actor. I've seen him in like The Wire and other stuff like that, which is why I want to go back and watch Creed. He did a great job in this movie. I've heard a lot of good things going into it, and I think the best thing is just the writing for him. The way he's written is so smart with the themes and the culture of what's going on in the plot and what's going on in the real world. They made him really real, and considering he was a villain in this film, you actually felt for his motives, and at some parts you were like, you kind of justified the things he'd done, and he was like a product of his environment rather than just an evil bad guy, which you see in so many Marvel films, and I'm so glad that they actually nailed it in this one. You could just sense like the rage within him from the things that had happened to him in the past and the things he was going through and just where he wanted to get to, and that's all he's known throughout his life. So that's, if he's going to get to the top, you might as well do it in the best way he can, which is through violence and anger. So he really played the part really well. But at the end of the day, he was also a very tragic character, and I actually felt like really bad for him at the same time. There's a few scenes towards the end with like the dream sequences and towards the climax, which are actually like quite emotional. It actually got me quite a lot with his performance, just the things he was saying and his backstory, because at the end of the day, he is not just an evil bad guy. He has his own reasons for doing the things he wants, and he was definitely the standout performance in this movie. That's the one thing that makes a great villain, is how the villain affects the protagonist, and he really affects T'Challa in this film by the things that T'Challa discovers about Eric Killmonger and where he's come from. Really changed the way that T'Challa thinks about the entire culture he's living in, and you get the sense that maybe he's siding with Killmonger at parts too, but because he's on the other side of the spectrum, he can't do anything about it. So that's one of the best things about this movie, is the dynamic between them two, and the moral choice between who should I side with. Even like as a viewer, you don't know who to really choose between who you side by. I would say the build up to the final conclusion of the film were probably a little bit more satisfying than the actual climax. As in, the fight was cool and all, and the location and the way the fight was going down was cool. I was more drawn in by the aspect of the things they were saying and how it affected them going through with what was happening in the fight scene and the climax of the fight scene, and I thought that was definitely more interesting than the actual fight that was going down, which for some reason I actually enjoy that a lot more than just seeing a cool fight scene. There aren't that many negatives to say about the film. If you're going to see a Marvel film, you're going to get comedy. It just depends how much you're going to get, and some films go overboard, and I felt like this film didn't go overboard at all. It felt like there were jokes and some of them were funny and some of them weren't that funny, but I think the ones that weren't funny were the ones that weren't supposed to be funny. They were more like banter between brother and sister and family, which was, it wasn't for the audience, it was like for character development, and I kind of really liked that. I kind of liked the development between T'Challa and his sister. We got to see more of like a human character while he's not trying to be the king, or while he's not trying to defeat evil Killmonger. One downside to this, it's not really that much of a downside, because I've just already praised Killmonger for being such a great villain and great acting. He just wasn't in the movie enough. He must have disappeared for half the film. We focus on this mission with Clow for maybe 15 minutes of the movie, and then we didn't see him. We didn't see Killmonger until like the last maybe 30 minutes, and the last 30 minutes were great, but I wish we could have seen more, because the development we got in those scenes that we saw with Killmonger, if we had more, we could have even had an even greater villain. And that's all I've really got to say for the film. I really enjoyed Black Panther more than I thought I would, even though it looked great. I just wasn't expecting the characters to be that good. So this is the final film leading up to Infinity War. I can't wait to watch that. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot different to this. I'm just hoping it does take itself seriously, but I really enjoyed pretty much most of the aspects of Black Panther. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. If this is your first time checking out the channel, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and check out the rest of my content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.